Commander Vexstar floated in the observation chamber of his stealth cruiser, watching the blue planet spin slowly beneath him. His three eyes focused on the primitive world that his species called Target Zone 47B. The humans living there. No idea that death watched them from the darkness of space. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. Each victory followed the same pattern. Scout ships would arrive first to study the target species. Military analysts would catalog their weapons and defenses. Then the invasion fleet would arrive to claim another world for the Empire. Earth looked no different from the other primitive worlds they had taken. Vexstar scanners showed crude vehicles moving on stone roads. The humans fought each other with simple projectile weapons that barely scratched metal armor. Their flying machines moved slower than a Zephyrian child's toy. Most amusing of all, they still used electromagnetic signals to communicate across their planet. Status report. Vexstar commanded his intelligence officer. Lieutenant Sekran consulted. His datapad. The species shows all standard markers of a Category 2 civilization. Basic metallurgy, chemical propulsion, primitive electronics. They appear to have just discovered how to split atoms, but only for crude weapons. Vexstar nodded with satisfaction. Category 2 worlds required minimal resources to conquer. A few hundred ground troops and light orbital support would be enough. The humans would surrender within days, once they saw Zephyrian ships in their sky. What about their military capabilities? Vexstar asked. Laughable, Sekran replied. They fight with metal projectiles fired from chemical explosions. Their armor cannot stop our basic energy weapons. Their fastest aircraft move at subsonic speeds. We detected no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no orbital defense platforms. The commander studied the tactical display showing human military installations. Small concrete structures housed their weapons. Primitive radar dishes rotated slowly on metal towers. Soldiers moved in predictable patterns around their bases. Everything indicated a species that had barely learned to wage war on their own planet, let alone defend against galactic powers. Their population, Vexstar continued his assessment, approximately 8 billion individuals spread across 7 continental landmasses. They show no signs of unified command structure. Multiple competing nations with different languages and customs, classic pre-unity civilization markers. This pleased Vexstar greatly. Divided species fell quickly once their separate governments realized the futility of resistance. The Zephyrians would demand surrender from each human nation individually. Most would comply immediately. The few that resisted would serve as examples to the others far below on Earth's surface. Colonel Jake Murphy sat in a dimly lit command center buried deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain. Banks of monitors showed satellite feeds from around the globe. His coffee had grown cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. The readings on his screens demanded his complete attention. "Sir, we're getting those anomalous signals again," reported Sergeant Danny Clark from his console. "Same pattern as yesterday, but stronger." Murphy walked over to examine the data. For 3 days, their deep space monitoring equipment had detected unusual electromagnetic patterns from beyond the solar system. The signals appeared artificial, but unlike anything in their databases. "Have you run it through the standard filters?" Murphy asked. "Yes, sir. It's definitely not natural phenomena. The pattern repeats every 4 hours and 27 minutes. Too regular to be cosmic background radiation." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her workstation across the room. She had been analyzing similar signals for the past week. As the base's specialist in exotic communications, she found the patterns fascinating and deeply troubling. "Colonel, I think these signals might be some kind of scanning array," she said. "The frequency shifts suggest systematic observation of our planet." Murphy frowned. "Observation by who exactly?" "I know how this sounds, but the mathematical structure doesn't match any human technology." The encoding methods are completely foreign to our systems. The colonel had heard stranger theories in his 20 years of military service. NORAD's mission included monitoring for all possible threats to North American airspace. That officially included everything from enemy missiles to space debris. Unofficially, it also meant watching for things that officially didn't exist. "What's your professional assessment, Doctor?" Murphy asked quietly. Carter hesitated before answering. "Someone is studying us from a very long distance. They're being methodical about it. These aren't random signals. They're organized, systematic, and suggest a level of technology far beyond our current capabilities." Murphy nodded slowly. He had seen similar reports crossing his desk for the past month. Unusual radar contacts that vanished before identification. Satellite imagery showing objects that shouldn't exist in Earth orbit. Radio telescopes detecting structured transmissions from empty space. 3 levels below Murphy's command center, in sections that didn't appear on any official blueprints, General Paul Harrison reviewed the same data with very different eyes. Unlike the NORAD personnel above, Harrison knew exactly what those signals meant. Project Blue Shield had been operational for 37 years. What began as a theoretical exercise in extraterrestrial defense had evolved into humanity's most classified military program. Harrison commanded a global network of hidden facilities, advanced weapon systems, and carefully selected personnel who had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. "They're here," he said to Dr. Emma Stone, his chief scientific advisor. Stone studied the signal analysis on her tablet. Zephyrian reconnaissance patterns, just like we predicted from the captured transmissions 15 years ago. Harrison smiled grimly. 15 years earlier, human deep space monitors had intercepted communications from a Zephyrian scouting expedition in a nearby star system. The aliens had been cataloging planets for future conquest. Earth appeared on their target list as a low-priority world suitable for eventual colonization. Most governments would have panicked at such news. Instead, Harrison's team had seen an opportunity. They had nearly 2 decades to prepare for the Zephyrian arrival. More importantly, they could ensure that the aliens found exactly what they expected to find. "Status of the camouflage protocols?" Harrison asked. "All systems operational. Surface installations show only primitive technology. Our orbital assets remain invisible to their scans. The decoy electromagnetic signatures are broadcasting perfectly." For 15 years, humanity had maintained an elaborate deception. Their real military capabilities remained hidden underground or disguised as civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, carefully placed decoy installations ensured that alien scouts would observe only primitive weapons and basic technology. Stone pulled up a holographic display showing Zephyrian ship positions. 3 stealth cruisers maintaining standard reconnaissance formation. They'll observe for another week before reporting back to their fleet. And they'll report exactly what we want them to report, Harrison said with satisfaction. Above them, Vextar completed his final observations of the primitive human world. His report would recommend a standard Category 2 invasion force. The humans would never know what hit them. The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like predators emerging from tall grass. Admiral Crexon stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet grow larger on his viewscreen. 43 massive warships accompanied him, each one capable of reducing a continent to ash. This would be the easiest conquest in his military career. The reconnaissance reports showed humans using primitive weapons and basic technology. Their largest cities had no energy shields. Their orbital space contained only simple satellites and crude space stations. Most importantly, they showed no signs of unified planetary defense. "Signal the fleet to assume standard intimidation formation," Crexon ordered his communications officer. The Zephyrian ships arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern above Earth's North Pole. Each vessel activated its external lights, creating a display of raw power that could be seen from the planet's surface. This psychological tactic had worked on dozens of worlds. Most species surrendered immediately upon seeing such overwhelming force. "Open communication channels to all human governments," the Admiral commanded. On Earth, every radio telescope, satellite dish, and communication array suddenly received the same message broadcast on multiple frequencies. The translation software built into the transmission ensured that humans heard the ultimatum in their own languages. "Primitive inhabitants of the third planet," Crexon's voice echoed across Earth. "You are now subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. Cease all military activities and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species. You have one planetary rotation to surrender unconditionally." Captain Ryan Foster sat in the command module of the International Space Station, calmly reviewing the alien transmission. Unlike the panic-stricken responses flooding communication channels from Earth's surface, Foster felt only professional focus. He had been waiting 15 years for this moment. "ISS to Earth Defense Command," Foster spoke into his encrypted transmitter. "Package delivery confirmed. Initiating reception protocol." 300 miles below, General Harrison smiled as he heard Foster's coded message. The aliens had arrived exactly as predicted. More importantly, they had positioned themselves precisely where Blue Shield planners wanted them. "All stations, this is command," Harrison broadcast on the hidden military network. "Operation Homecoming is now active. Repeat, Homecoming is active." Across the globe, thousands of carefully trained personnel received the activation signal. In underground bunkers, control rooms, and disguised facilities, human operators began powering up weapon systems that had remained hidden for decades. Foster checked his instruments one final time before responding to the alien ultimatum. The space station's exterior still looked like a simple research facility. Hidden beneath the solar panels and communication arrays, however, lay some of humanity's most advanced technology. "Unknown vessels," Foster broadcast on the same frequency the aliens had used. "This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space without authorization. You have 30 minutes to reverse course and leave our system or face the consequences." On the Zephyrian flagship, the bridge crew stared at their admiral in confusion. In 43 successful invasions, no primitive species had ever responded with such calm defiance. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or sent desperate pleas for mercy. "Run a deep scan of their orbital installations," Crexon ordered. "I want to know what weapons they think they have." Lieutenant Zekron operated the scanning array, probing the space around Earth with sophisticated sensors. The results puzzled him greatly. "Sir, I detect no orbital defense platforms, no energy weapons, no shield generators. The space station appears to contain only basic scientific equipment." "Then how do they plan to resist us?" Crexon wondered aloud. "Perhaps they are simply ignorant of our capabilities," suggested his tactical officer. "Primitive species often display irrational courage when they don't understand the hopelessness of their situation." The Admiral nodded. "Very well. We'll provide them with a demonstration. Target the military installation in the North American desert. Use minimal force. I want them to understand our power without destroying too much useful infrastructure." 3 Zephyrian escort ships broke formation and descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Their target was a remote Air Force base in Nevada that reconnaissance had identified as a major human military facility. A single precision strike would demonstrate Zephyrian superiority while minimizing collateral damage. The lead escort ship, commanded by Captain Yexter, entered Earth's upper atmosphere and locked onto the desert base. His plasma cannons charged. for a surgical strike that would vaporize the installation without harming the surrounding area. Initiating attack run, Yexter reported to the flagship. Target acquired and locked. He never had the chance to fire. 3 beams of coherent energy sliced through his ship from different angles, cutting the vessel into pieces that tumbled burning toward the planet's surface. The second escort ship lasted 4 seconds longer before similar beams reduced it to expanding plasma. The third ship tried to retreat, but found itself trapped in some kind of energy field that held it motionless until focused particle streams tore it apart. Admiral Crexon watched in shocked silence as his 3 ships died. His sensors had detected the energy weapons that killed them, but could not locate their source. The beams appeared to come from empty space around Earth's orbital region. Full sensor sweep, he commanded desperately. Find those weapons. His crew worked frantically to locate the mysterious defense systems. Advanced Zephyrian sensors probed every cubic meter of space around the planet. They found old communication satellites, primitive space debris, and the simple space station that had delivered the human ultimatum. Nothing appeared capable of generating the energy weapons that had destroyed 3 warships. Foster watched the burning debris of alien ships streak across Earth's sky like falling stars. Hidden throughout Earth's orbital space, dozens of weapon platforms had dropped their camouflage and revealed their true purpose. For 15 years, these systems had masqueraded as defunct satellites and space junk while secretly monitoring alien activity. "Control, this is Foster," he reported. "Package. Inspection complete. Quality did not meet our standards." Dr. Emma Stone monitored the engagement from her underground command center. Banks of screens showed the positions of hidden defense satellites throughout Earth orbit. Each platform had been designed to appear completely inactive until the moment it fired. "Stealth field integrity at 100%, she reported to General Harrison. "Enemy sensors cannot penetrate our adaptive camouflage. They still believe they're fighting primitive humans." Harrison studied tactical displays showing Zephyrian ship movements. The aliens were clearly confused and frightened by the destruction of their escort ships. They could detect human weapons firing, but could not locate the sources. "What's our orbital asset status?" Harrison asked. "All platforms operational and ready. The enemy has no idea how many weapons we have or where they are. To their sensors, we still appear to be using primitive technology." Admiral Crexane realized with growing horror that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not primitive at all. They had somehow hidden advanced weapon systems that could destroy Zephyrian ships with ease. Worse, his forces could not even locate these mysterious weapons to fight back. "Signal the fleet," he ordered reluctantly. "All ships are to maintain maximum distance from the planet. Begin evasive maneuvers and prepare for extended engagement." Foster smiled as he watched the alien fleet scatter into defensive formations. The Zephyrians had expected to fight stone spears, but found orbital cannons instead. Now they would discover that humanity's surprises were just beginning. Admiral Crexon paced nervously across his bridge as more Zephyrian reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace. 12 additional warships had arrived to support his failing invasion. The fleet now numbered 55 vessels, enough firepower to level a dozen primitive worlds. Yet the humans continued to resist with weapons that shouldn't exist. 3 more escort ships had been destroyed while attempting to probe Earth's defenses. The mysterious energy beams came from nowhere and struck with impossible precision. Zephyrian sensors still could not locate their sources. "Status report from all division commanders," Crexon demanded. Captain Vorth of the Eastern Battle Group reported first. "We've lost 4 ships attempting to establish orbital bombardment positions. Enemy weapons appear to be distributed throughout the planetary system. Recommend we request additional reinforcements Negative, Krexan replied sharply. The Empire expects us to conquer a primitive world with existing forces. We cannot admit that humans are causing us difficulties. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Major Susan Blake coordinated Earth's planetary defense from a command center that had taken 20 years to construct. Holographic displays showed the real scope of human military preparation. What looked like a simple mountain research facility from the outside contained the most advanced war room in human history. Sector 7 shows 15 alien ships attempting to establish firing positions, reported Lieutenant Alex Rivera from his tactical console. Should we engage? Blake studied the enemy formation carefully. The Zephyrians were trying to spread, their fleet wide enough to overwhelm human defenses through sheer numbers. They still believed they were fighting a conventional enemy with limited weapons. Negative on engagement, Blake decided. Let them think they're gaining tactical advantage. We want them committed to the attack before we reveal our full capabilities. Around the globe, cities began to transform as camouflaged defensive positions activated. In New York Harbor, massive construction cranes suddenly rotated on their bases and elevated toward the sky. Hidden railgun barrels extended from within the mechanical structures, targeting the alien ships attempting to establish bombardment positions. Similar transformations occurred worldwide. Radio towers throughout Europe began broadcasting powerful interference patterns that disrupted Zephyrian navigation systems. Construction equipment in Asian ports revealed itself to be mobile artillery platforms. Even civilian buildings contained hidden defensive systems that had been integrated during their original construction. The Zephyrians watched in growing amazement as human cities seemed to sprout weapons from every structure. Admiral Krexan realized that his intelligence reports had been completely wrong. The humans hadn't simply hidden their military technology. They had disguised their entire civilization as primitive while secretly preparing for interstellar war. How is this possible? He asked his intelligence officer. Our scouts observed this world for weeks. They reported primitive technology and basic weapons. Lieutenant Zekron studied his sensor readings in confusion. Sir, the camouflage technology they're using is beyond our understanding. Our most advanced sensors cannot penetrate their deception fields. To us, a railgun appears to be a construction crane until the moment it fires. The Admiral felt a chill of recognition. Only one species in known galactic history had demonstrated such sophisticated deception capabilities. The ancients had used similar tactics during the last great galactic war 3,000 years ago. But the ancients were extinct. Their worlds were dead ruins scattered across the galaxy. Begin ground assault operations, Krexan ordered desperately. If we cannot engage their orbital defenses, we'll attack their population centers directly. Primitive species always surrender once their civilians are threatened. Zephyrian troop transports descended toward Earth's major cities, carrying elite soldiers equipped with energy weapons and powered armor. These forces had conquered 47 worlds without significant casualties. Human resistance would crumble. Once they faced superior alien technology in ground combat, the first transport ships approached London and found the city's air defense systems fully activated. Hidden missile batteries rose from underground installations throughout the metropolitan area. Advanced tracking systems locked onto the alien vessels with targeting precision that impressed even Zephyrian military analysts. Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera led a squadron of aircraft that appeared to be standard human fighter jets. As the Zephyrian transports entered Earth's atmosphere, Rivera's planes rose to intercept them. The aliens paid little attention to such primitive aircraft until the first human fighter fired a plasma cannon that vaporized a troop transport in a single shot. "This is impossible," transmitted the surviving Zephyrian pilot. "Human aircraft cannot mount energy weapons. Our intelligence reports confirmed they use only chemical propulsion and projectile armaments. Rivera smiled as he lined up his next target. His fighter looked exactly like a conventional F-16 from the outside. Hidden beneath the traditional exterior, however, lay fusion drives, plasma cannons, and adaptive armor that could deflect most alien weapons. Humanity had spent decades perfecting the art of making advanced technology appear primitive. Engaging. Second transport. Rivera reported to ground control as he fired again. Dr. Nathan Brooks monitored the engagement from his research facility hidden beneath Antarctic ice. Banks of quantum computers had been analyzing Zephyrian communication patterns for months, learning to predict their tactical decisions with uncanny accuracy. The system Brooks had developed could anticipate enemy movements several minutes before they occurred. Enemy ground forces will attempt landing at coordinates 47.2 north, 8.5 east in approximately 4 minutes, Brooks reported to Major Blake. Recommend positioning defensive units at marked locations. Blake quickly relayed the information to Swiss Defense Forces. Human troops equipped with adaptive camouflage and energy weapons moved into position exactly where the quantum computers predicted the aliens would land. When Zephyrian dropships finally reached the ground, they found themselves surrounded by enemies who had been waiting for them. The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces became evident as reports filtered back to the fleet. Elite alien soldiers, trained to fight primitive enemies with crude weapons, found themselves facing humans who used tactics that shouldn't exist. Human troops moved with perfect coordination, anticipating every Zephyrian maneuver. Their weapons penetrated alien armor that should have been invulnerable to primitive technology. All ground units report heavy casualties, Captain Vorth transmitted to Admiral Crexon. Human resistance is far beyond predicted parameters. They appear to know our tactical doctrine better than we do. Crexon stared at the tactical display, showing his forces scattered and retreating. Half his ground troops were dead or missing. His orbital bombardment attempts had failed completely. The humans continued to fight with impossible coordination and technology that defied explanation. Signal retreat to minimum safe distance, he ordered reluctantly. Prepare detailed reports for Imperial Command. We're going to need significant reinforcements to conquer this world. As Zephyrian ships pulled back from Earth orbit, Major Blake allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The trap had worked perfectly. The aliens believed they were fighting a desperate last stand by primitive humans. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. The real battle was just beginning. Admiral Crexon received the emergency transmission from Imperial Command with growing dread. Fleet Commander Thexver's image flickered on the main screen, his expression showing the barely controlled fury of a military leader facing an impossible situation. Admiral, your initial reports described humans as primitive savages armed with crude weapons, Thexver said coldly. Yet you now request additional battle groups to subdue a single backward planet. Explain this contradiction immediately. Crexon struggled to find words that wouldn't end his military career. Commander, the humans have demonstrated capabilities far beyond our intelligence assessments. They possess advanced stealth technology, energy weapons, and tactical coordination that suggests extensive military preparation. You're telling me that a species that hasn't achieved faster than light travel is defeating Zephyrian battle fleets? Sir, I believe we may be facing descendants of an extinct advanced civilization. Their deception capabilities match historical records of ancient technology. Thexver's eyes narrowed dangerously. The ancients died out 3 millennia ago. Their worlds are dead ruins. You will take this primitive planet with existing forces or face court-martial for incompetence. The transmission ended, leaving Crexon staring at a blank screen. He now faced an impossible choice. Retreat meant disgrace and execution. Continuing the attack meant sending his remaining ships against an enemy that seemed to anticipate every tactical decision. On Earth, Commander Maria Santos prepared her stealth squadron for the most dangerous mission in human military history. Her 12 ships hung motionless in space, invisible to Zephyrian sensors through adaptive camouflage that bent light around their hulls. Each vessel carried enough quantum mines to destroy a city. "Final systems check," Santos ordered her pilots. "Remember, we get one chance at this. Once we're detected, the entire alien fleet will focus fire on our position." Lieutenant Danny Clark confirmed his ship's status from the cockpit of his fighter. Like the others, his vessel appeared to be empty space to enemy sensors. The stealth technology had taken 15 years to perfect, based on theories recovered from ancient ruins on Mars that few humans knew existed. "All systems green," Clark reported. "Quantum mines armed and ready for deployment." Santos studied the tactical display showing Zephyrian ship positions. The aliens had arranged their fleet in a defensive formation, clearly expecting another wave of human attacks from planetary orbit. They would never anticipate an assault from ships they couldn't detect. "Execute infiltration pattern Delta," Santos commanded. "Target the command vessel first, then work outward through the escort ships." The human stealth fighters moved through the Zephyrian fleet like ghosts, placing quantum mines on ship hulls without triggering any alarms. The mines themselves were invisible to alien sensors, designed to appear as random space debris until activated. Aboard the Zephyrian flagship, Lieutenant Zekron monitored space around the fleet with increasingly sophisticated sensor sweeps. He knew the humans possessed stealth technology, but their detection methods should have revealed at least some trace of enemy activity. "Sir, I'm detecting minor gravitational anomalies throughout the fleet formation," he reported to Admiral Crexon. "The patterns are too regular to be natural phenomena." Before the Admiral could respond, Santos activated the quantum mines. The devices created localized space-time distortions that tore apart alien hulls at the molecular level. 12 Zephyrian ships simply came apart as reality briefly ceased to function normally around them. "Emergency maneuvers," Crexon shouted as his flagship shuddered from a nearby explosion. "All ships scatter and engage evasive protocols." But the human attack had been perfectly timed. As Zephyrian vessels broke formation, they flew directly into fields of additional mines that Santos had placed during their infiltration. 8 more ships died in the resulting chaos, their crews never understanding what had killed them. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Danny Clark led his unit through the wreckage of a crashed Zephyrian transport ship. The alien crew had died when their vessel was shot down by human air defenses, leaving behind intact technology that Earth scientists desperately wanted to examine. "Careful with that energy weapon," Clark warned Private Jake Murphy as the young soldier examined an alien rifle. "We don't know how sensitive the trigger mechanism might be." Dr. Kevin White arrived at the crash site with a team of engineers and immediately began cataloging salvageable equipment. He had been studying alien technology for 20 years, ever since the first Zephyrian artifacts were recovered from deep space. Now he finally had access to complete, undamaged systems. "This is incredible," White muttered as he examined an alien communications device. "Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's based on principles we understand. Give me 6 hours, and I can probably reverse engineer their entire command protocol." Clark watched the scientist work with professional admiration. Human adaptability had always been their greatest strength. While other species took centuries to develop new technologies, humans could analyze, understand, and improve upon alien systems within hours of first contact. "Doctor, we're getting reports of similar crashes worldwide," Clark informed White. "How quickly can you share your findings with other research teams?" "The quantum communication network is already online," White replied without looking up from his work. Every breakthrough we make here will be transmitted instantly to research facilities on every continent. This represented another advantage the Zephyrians had failed to anticipate. Human scientists worked as a unified global community, sharing information at light speed through quantum encrypted channels. Knowledge gained from one crashed ship immediately benefited research teams examining similar wrecks thousands of miles. Away within hours, Dr. White's team had not only reverse-engineered Zephyrian technology, but begun improving upon it. Human-modified alien weapons showed 30% better energy efficiency. Modified Zephyrian armor provided superior protection while weighing half as much as the original design. Admiral Crexon watched his tactical display with growing horror as more ships disappeared from his fleet roster. The humans weren't simply defending themselves anymore. They had gone on the offensive, using stealth technology and guerrilla tactics to systematically destroy Zephyrian vessels. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his tactical officer. 27 confirmed destroyed. "Sir, 8 more severely damaged and unable to continue combat operations. The humans appear to be targeting our most advanced vessels first." The admiral realized with sick certainty that his enemy understood Zephyrian military doctrine better than most of his own officers. Every human attack struck precisely where it would cause maximum damage to fleet coordination and morale. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from ground units across the planet," reported his communications officer. "Human forces are counterattacking with captured Zephyrian weapons that have been modified beyond our specifications." Crexon closed his eyes in defeat. The humans had not only stolen their technology, but improved it. They were now fighting, with weapons more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. "Signal all remaining ships," he ordered reluctantly. "Prepare for strategic withdrawal to minimum engagement distance. We're no longer fighting primitive humans. We're facing an enemy that may be more dangerous than we are." Admiral Crexon stood on his bridge watching the impossible unfold before him. His proud fleet of 55 warships had been reduced to 23 battered vessels, limping through space at minimum power. The humans had not simply defeated them. They had systematically dismantled the Zephyrian invasion force with surgical precision. "Sir, long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures from the far side of Earth's moon," reported Lieutenant Zekran with barely controlled fear in his voice. "The readings suggest a fleet of at least 40 vessels, each larger than our flagship." The admiral felt his heart sink. The humans had been hiding another fleet behind their moon. Everything they had faced so far had merely been Earth's planetary defense system. The real human military was only now revealing itself. Admiral Helen Torres stood in the command center of Lunar Base Alpha, watching her fleet emerge from concealment for the first time in 15 years. The far side of the moon had provided perfect cover for humanity's secret shipyards and military installations. While the Zephyrians focused on Earth's surface defenses, humanity's true space navy had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "All ships report ready for combat operations," her tactical officer announced. "Orbital cannon network is fully charged and targeting solutions are locked." Torres smiled. She studied the retreating Zephyrian fleet. These aliens had made the same mistake that had doomed countless species throughout galactic history. They had assumed that what they could see represented the full extent of their enemy's capabilities. "Activate the orbital cannon network," Torres commanded. "Time to show our visitors what humans do to uninvited guests." Across the Earth-Moon system, installations that had masqueraded as asteroid mining equipment and scientific research stations revealed their true purpose. Massive electromagnetic railguns emerged from hidden chambers carved deep into asteroids. Solar collection arrays that had operated for decades as legitimate power sources redirected their energy into charging weapons capable of destroying planets. The Zephyrians watched in stunned silence as humanity's real military infrastructure revealed itself. What they had mistaken for primitive space technology was actually the most sophisticated defensive network in known galactic history. Every satellite, every space station, every piece of orbital debris had been designed to serve dual purposes. Captain Marcus Gray broadcast a message on all Zephyrian military frequencies, speaking in perfect Zephyrian battle language that shocked the alien crews. Attention Zephyrian fleet. This is Captain Gray of Earth Defense Command. You are surrounded by superior forces and have no chance of escape. Prepare to receive terms for your surrender. Admiral Krexian stared at his communications, console in disbelief. No primitive species should have been able to decode Zephyrian military communications, let alone speak their classified battle language fluently. How do they know our communication protocols? He demanded of his intelligence officer, Lieutenant. Zekron consulted his records with shaking hands. Sir, according to our databases, only 3 species in galactic history have ever broken Zephyrian encryption: the Ancients, the Void Dwellers, and the extinct Quantum Lords. All 3 civilizations were destroyed thousands of years ago. Then how are primitive humans using their technology? Krexian asked desperately. The answer came from Captain Gray's next transmission. Admiral Krexian, we need to have a conversation about the true history of this galaxy. You see, we've been monitoring your species for much longer than you realize. Torres activated a holographic display that showed the Zephyrian fleet from every angle. Hidden sensors throughout the solar system had been tracking alien movements since their arrival. More importantly, the same sensors had been monitoring Zephyrian expansion across the galaxy for decades. Transmit the historical data package, Torres ordered her communications officer. The message that reached the Zephyrian flagship contained information that challenged everything their species believed about galactic history. Detailed records showed that humanity had been aware of the Zephyrian Empire since its formation 3 centuries earlier. More shocking still, the data proved that humans had been secretly influencing galactic events for generations. This is impossible, Krexian whispered as he reviewed the transmitted files. These records show human involvement in conflicts that occurred before your species achieved spaceflight. Captain Gray's voice carried a note of amusement. Admiral, you've made the same mistake that every aggressive species makes when they encounter us. You assumed that what you could observe represented the full extent of human civilization. That assumption has proven fatal for many would-be conquerors. The truth began to dawn on the surviving Zephyrian crews as they studied the historical data. Humanity had not been surprised by alien contact. They had been expecting it for centuries. Every aspect of human development had been guided by knowledge of galactic politics and military threats. Colonel Rachel Brooks took over the communication channel from her position deep beneath Norad. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. Let me explain what really happened here, Brooks began. 200 years ago, human deep space monitors detected evidence of the ancient civilization's final war. We found their ruins on Mars, their research stations in the asteroid belt, and their warning messages about aggressive younger species. The Zephyrian bridge crew listened in stunned silence as Brooks continued her revelation. The ancients left detailed records about species like yours. Aggressive, expansionist, but ultimately predictable in your tactics and technology. They provided us with blueprints for defensive systems specifically designed to counter Zephyrian military doctrine. Admiral Krexian felt the last of his military pride crumble. You're saying that extinct aliens taught you how to defeat us? Not just defeat you, Brooks replied. The ancients taught us how to hide among primitive species until we were strong enough to protect ourselves. What you observed during your reconnaissance was exactly what we wanted you to see. The orbital cannon network fired in perfect synchronization, sending focused energy beams past the Zephyrian fleet as a demonstration of power. Each shot had been carefully aimed to miss the alien ships by mere meters, proving that humanity could have destroyed them at any moment. "Your fleet is free to leave our system," Torres announced from her lunar command center. "However, you will carry a message to your empire. Earth is under the protection of the human species. Any future visitors are welcome to approach us peacefully. But anyone who comes with hostile intentions will discover that we've had centuries to prepare for them." The surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from Earth orbit, carrying with them the most devastating military defeat in their species' history. They had come expecting to fight stone spears, and instead encountered orbital cannons, wielded by a civilization that had been preparing for galactic war since before their own empire existed, as the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace. General Harrison emerged from his underground command center to address the world. Humanity's greatest deception had succeeded perfectly. They had hidden among primitive civilizations until they were ready to reveal themselves as the galaxy's newest. Major power. The age of human expansion had begun,